Hi friends, I'm Chelsea and I am here to talk about the book series that I won't be continuing. So, of course, I have to put a disclaimer out there before I start talking about any of these books because I don't want to hate on any books or authors or on anyone who really loved these books or series. I just thought it would be interesting to talk about some of the books that I didn't love, or even books I did love, and then series that I read more books from and then didn't like. Did that make sense at all? I just thought it would be cool to talk about what books series I don't think I'll be continuing for various reasons. The main reason is I have so many books on my TBR and I don't want to waste my time on books or series that I'm not 100% in love with. And that's okay, I'm not the kind of person who has to finish a series after I started reading it. I'm totally happy to DNF a book or a series. But with that said, if any of these books are like some of your top favorites and you want to try to convince me to keep reading, feel free to do that and I will definitely take that into account. So I have 9 books here. Most of them are fantasy series. I have a couple like mysteries and I'll start with those and then just kind of go through them quickly and let you know of my reasoning for not continuing in the series. And Adelaide is going to join us again. She's been a special guest in my videos lately. So say hello to Adelaide, my least favorite cat, but it's okay. It's fine. So the first one that I want to talk about is the Aunties series by Jessie Q. Sutanto. The first book is called Dial A for Aunties, and then there's at least 3 books out. There might be more, I'm not sure. I read the first book, Dial A for Aunties, and I really enjoyed it. I think I recommended it in my audiobook recommendations video. Really funny audiobook, like just really entertaining, hilarious, cute little romance. And then I read the second book, and I just didn't really love it. I felt like a lot of the things that were done in the first book were just done again in the second book, and it didn't really give me anything new. It just started to get a little ridiculous the further on that it went. These books are pretty much like a cozy mystery with some romance elements, and it heavily features this main character named Medi, but also her aunties who are basically there to cover up her accidental crime of like killing someone before a wedding or something. I don't remember the details very well, but the aunties are the comic relief and they are getting it done, covering up crimes, just getting into ridiculous scenarios. And like I said, it really worked for me in the first book, but it just got even more ridiculous in the second book and I just kind of wanted it to be over. So I feel like with this series, I'm not going to get much new from each book, like it's probably going to be more of the same thing. I don't really read like mystery series as much either. It's not really something I gravitate towards. Like I'll read 1 or 2 books in a mystery series and then usually it kind of fizzles out from there. I definitely recommend the first book, but unfortunately I just didn't love the second book, and again, don't feel like I'm gonna get much new from the subsequent books in the series. So similarly, the second one is the Finley Donovan series. The first book is Finley Donovan is Killing It. I can't remember the second or third book. So I have read the first, second, and third book, and I actually really enjoyed all of them. I loved the first book specifically. Definitely has a Good Girls, Dead to Me kind of vibe. Cozy mystery again, moms who are getting wrapped up in crimes unintentionally and getting into crazy scenarios. It's very funny, just very entertaining, really enjoyed it. There was a good mystery element, and like I said, I enjoyed books 1 through 3, but I think there's another book out and then another one is coming out, so that's like 5 books in the series. And again, I just don't think I'm gonna get much of a new feeling of reading these books. Like I feel like I got what I needed from the first 3 books. So those are my 2 cozy mysteries. And then this next one is like a witchy rom-com pretty much. And this is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, which I didn't realize that is a pen name for Rachel Hawkins. And I've read some of her books actually. So this was a pretty cute like fall witchy romance. Definitely great for fall time. But honestly, I hardly remember anything about it. It was just pretty forgettable to me. Didn't really stick with me a whole lot. Like I have had a fun time. It was cute, but it wasn't anything special to me. And I know there's like 1 or 2 other books out. Now these might be more of like interconnected standalones and not as much of a series that continues with like the same characters. I'm actually not sure about that, but I feel like it might be the similar thing. And actually, like every book I've read by this author so far has been in the 3 to 3.5 star range. So not great odds. Again, not a bad thing, and it's great if you just need a mindless, cute little rom-com. I don't read a lot of those, so I feel like if I'm going to pick one, it's probably going to be a different one. But if you love these books, please feel free to convince me. I do love a good, cozy fall kind of read. Okay, so now we're kind of getting into fantasy for the most part. This next one kind of fits into a couple different genre categories, but then after that we're all into fantasy. So this one is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I think the name of the series is like The Adventures of the Athena Club or something. It's like a really long title, and there's at least 2 other books out, I'm pretty sure. So this one is like a historical fantasy slash mystery, and it's a great premise. A lot of the characters are based off of classic books or classic characters like Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Sherlock Holmes, and there's a couple other ones too. It's pretty funny as well, very entertaining. I liked the writing style, but as the book went further on, I just kind of was over it. Like it just got really nonsensical to me and just lost my interest a little bit. I had high hopes for this one, but as the book went further and further on, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I would potentially read the next book in the series if you really convinced me. I think this is a great premise and a really funny, entertaining book. It just wasn't 100% for me. Okay, this next one should not come as a surprise to you because I've hated on this book in several of my videos lately, so sorry if you love this series. I'm going to mention it another time. And that is the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts. You know, you've probably heard of it because it's all over the place, but this is like YA fantasy romance with a dystopian feel. It's pretty much a carbon copy of The Hunger Games and Red Queen, so definitely nothing super original there. I had a fun time for the most part with the book. Like, it's a good, mindless, entertaining book that you can get through pretty quickly. I did enjoy the romance a little bit, but I wasn't super connected to the characters or the story. It didn't feel like anything new to me. The writing was honestly pretty cringy to me. I was starting to just not take it seriously at all, and I felt like the book dragged on a little bit. It felt a little long for a YA fantasy book. So this one has a little novella that followed, and then there's also the sequel to this book, and I assume there's going to be a 3rd book. The 2nd book, Reckless, has gotten very mixed reviews. I actually looked up what happens in that book, so I don't really care to spend the time on the book when it's been getting very mixed reviews and I already know what happened, because I kind of did want to know, but not enough to read the whole book. So yeah, you probably won't convince me to keep reading this one since I already spoiled it for myself. And yeah, I just was not a fan of the writing style in general. So I'm going to stop hating on this book. It's fine if you love it. It's great. Not interested in continuing with this series. Now the next one pains me to say because this is one of my favorite authors, but this is probably the only books of hers that I am not really interested in reading. Otherwise, I'm a huge fan. So this is the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. Again, I love her. Love Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, loved The Familiar. Every other book she's written is on my TBR, and so this is just a personal thing. This is YA fantasy. There's a TV show out, which I've seen the show, so I already know what happens in this series, although there could be some changes because that's pretty typical with a TV show. So I did read the 1st book, but it was about a 3-star for me. I wasn't super invested in the characters. I really love the world of like the Grishaverse in general, but I just wasn't very invested in the story or the characters, and it just kind of felt okay to me. And yeah, I've already seen the show, so I don't really feel the need to continue reading the other 2 books in this series. There's so many other books of hers that are on my TBR that I think I just want to spend my time reading her other books instead. Okay, the next one is one that I haven't really heard a lot about and honestly hardly remember anything about. It's been a couple years and it was not super memorable to me even after I read it. And this is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I think the series name is called Deathless. I think there's another book out. I don't know if there's going to be another one. This is just classic YA fantasy. Great premise. It's about a girl who is different from everyone in her village. She discovers that she has these powers that people kind of look down on, and she goes to this group of girls who train to hone their powers. Strong female magical kind of story, and so great premise, but I just was a little underwhelmed. It didn't really stick with me that much, and it just didn't wow me or hook me a whole lot. I didn't have a problem with the writing or anything. I wasn't super invested in it. Also, if I were to continue the series, I'd probably need to reread book 1 because I remember nothing, and I just don't really want to spend the time on that, if I'm being honest. So that's that. And I have 2 more here. So these are strictly adult fantasy. And this next one might be a little controversial, maybe not. I've heard somewhat mixed reviews. This one is The Atlas 6 by Olive Blake. And this is like dark academia with magic and a whole cast of characters. So I read the first book a while back, and I did like some elements of it. Like, I liked the dark academia fantasy element. I thought a lot of the characters were interesting, but I also remember just being very confused at times. Like, it was very dense. It was hard for me to read at times. Like, the writing, I didn't 100% connect with. It felt a little slow and boring at other times. Just in general, it was not something that I was like obsessed with after I read it. I do want to read other books of hers, like Alone with You in the Ether and One for My Enemy, other books of hers that maybe have a different feel than this one. When I had finished reading this book, I was like, okay, maybe I'll read the other book when it comes out. But now that it's been a couple years, I don't really have any desire to keep reading. I remember nothing also. I just feel like it was a lot to take in and didn't really connect with me fully. So feel free to try to convince me, but it's going to be a hard sell if I'm being honest. And then this last one, I'm still undecided on. So this is not a hard no. It's just something I thought I would mention and try to see if anyone has opinions on this one. So, drum roll please. This is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I read the first book earlier this year. I really liked it a lot. I read the second book after that, and I didn't love it. It was like maybe a 3-star, maybe lower, I'm not sure. And so I know the third book came out this year. There's been a lot of hype around it, but also a lot of mixed reviews from what I've been seeing. I really liked the urban fantasy setting. Like, you got technology, just kind of a more modern feel mixed with all these like fantastical creatures and magic and all that. But my main complaint is that I don't love the 2 main characters or their relationship. They just didn't feel very deep or layered to me, and there were some cringy moments in like the spicy scenes and all that. I loved ACOTAR, so I'm not a hater of Sarah J. Maas, but I don't know if this series is going to be like my new favorite. Also, they're super long, like 800 pages, and so I'm just not sure if I want to commit myself to another 800-page book if I'm not sure that I'm going to love it. So I'm still on the fence about book 3 of this series. I don't know if there's going to be more books, but let me know if you think I should read the 3rd Crescent City book, or if you think I'm not going to like it if you've read it yourself. So that is it. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone too much, and maybe you have some similar opinions to me on some of these books or series, and I would love to hear if there are any series that you have started that you're not really interested in continuing, or again, if you think I should give some of these another shot. I'm willing to listen to your case and try to give it another go. But some of these, I just don't know if it's gonna be something that I'm gonna love, and I don't want to waste my time when there's so many books on my TBR, you know? So I think that is it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!